Indian states and society. With the gradual weakening and decline of Mughal Empire, the local and the regional and the political economic forces began to arise and assert themselves, and the politics began to undergo major changes. From the late 17th century onwards, during the 18th century, on the debris of Mughal Empire and its political system, arose a large number of independent and semi-independent powers such as Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, Mysore, and the Maratha kingdoms. It is these powers that British had to overcome in their attempt to supremacy in India. Some of these states such as Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad may be characterized as succession states. They arose they arose as a result of the assertion of autonomy of the governors of Mughal provinces with a decay of central power. Others, such as the Maratha, Afghan, Jat, and Punjab states, were the product of rebellions by the local chieftains, zamindars, and peasants against the Mughal authority. Not only did the policies, not only did the politics of the two types of states or zones differ to some extent from each other, but there were differences among all of them because of the local conditions. Yet, not surprisingly, the overall political and administrative framework was very similar in nearly all of them. There was, of course, also a third zone comprising of the areas of the southwest and southeast coast of northern eastern India, where Mughal influence had not reached in any degree. The rulers of all the 18th century states tried to legitimize the position by acknowledging the normal supremacy of the Mughal emperor and by seeking his approval as his representatives. Moreover, nearly all of them adopted the methods and the spirit of Mughal administration. The first group of states, succession states, inherited functioning Mughal administrative structure and institutions. Others tried to adopt and adapt in the varying degrees this structure and institutions, including the Mughal revenue system. The rulers of these states established law and order and viable economic and administrative structures. They curbed with varying degrees of success and the local officials and petty chiefs and the zamindars who constantly fought with higher authorities for control over the surplus produce of the peasant and who sometimes succeeded in establishing local centers of power and patronage. They also conciliated and accommodated these local chiefs and zamindars who desired peace and law and order. In general, there was most of the state decentralization of the political authority, with chiefs, jagirdars, and zamindars gaining in economic political power. The politics of these states was invariably non communal or secular. Their motivations of their rulers began similar in economic and political terms. The rulers did not discriminate on the religious grounds in public appointments, civil or military, nor did the rebels against their authority pay much attention to the religion of the rulers. There is therefore a little warrant for the belief that the decline and breakup of the Mughal Empire was followed by anarchy or breakdown of law and order in different parts of India. In fact, whatever anarchy in administration and economy existed in the 18th century usually followed British wars of conquest and British intervention in the internal affairs of Indian states. None of these states, however, succeeded in arresting the economic crisis which had set in during 17th century. All of them remained basically rent extracting states. The zamindars and the jagirdars, whose number and political strength constantly increased, continued to fight over the income from agriculture, while the condition of peasantry continued to deteriorate. While these states prevented any breakdown of internal trade and even tried to promote foreign trade, they did nothing to modernize the basic industrial and commercial structure of their states. This largely explains their failure to consolidate themselves or to ward off any external attack.